What's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 2017 career mode, episode number 77 today for the USA Grand Prix in Season 4. If you did miss the last one, episode number 76 uploaded yesterday, be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. Quite a crucial race last time out, of course. I think there's plenty of time now, enough for spoilers. Obviously, with Kimi Räikkönen having a quite spectacular crash in 130R. Obviously, the ball's back in our court after what was a really large momentum swing for Kimi Räikkönen with 3 wins on the trot. Now we kind of have this cushion again. We had it before, but it was eroded very easily by Räikkönen over 3 races. And to be honest, the same could probably be said at this weekend, because looking back historically at this career mode around USA, I've had a pretty tough time of it, actually. On previous games, USA's been a pretty damn decent Grand Prix for me, but on this year's game, the AI are very good. And if you remember from last season, in Season 3, we were actually fighting this man the entire race long and just keeping him at bay, and pretty much we did the damage limitation of just kind of being a blockade to him the entire race, Sebastian Vettel. This time, obviously, we're fighting the other Ferrari, and we'll have to see how he goes. Obviously, Raikkonen's AI, we know now, is very, very decent, and it looks like he's kind of woken up from his slumber in the last 5 or so episodes, really. So, we'll see how it goes, but just going through practice then, and really, the track felt very, very slippery to me in the Red Bull car, having a few issues and going off and crashing in the same place Daniel Kvyat did in the Red Bull when he was still in a Red Bull car back in, I think it was 2015, if I remember correctly there in that same bit of the track. But yeah, the track felt very, very slippery in the Red Bull car. I'm not too sure. I'm using the exact same setup as I did last season with the Renault. I don't know if that's maybe why. Maybe, you know, I needed to change a few things around, but I felt like that setup should have worked just as well in the Red Bull car, if not better, as obviously our car has better natural downforce compared to that Renault we were driving last season. But it kind of felt like maybe the real-life drivers felt about Mexico in real life. You know, we hear about when we go to Mexico in real life, the drivers complaining about a very slippery track surface. You can clearly see the track surface is very slippery, and, you know, the tarmac hasn't fully rubbed it in. You know, it's a very new circuit there. Obviously, USA now, in real life, had a fair few years now to kind of get rubbered in, and in real life, they don't have that same issue as it was back in 2012 when they opened up the circuit. But on the game, at least, in this Red Bull car, going through qualifying still as well, overcast conditions obviously might change things, as the track temperature might be a little bit low. But you can see I'm just sliding about a little bit through the final corner. We do come across the line anyway in Q2 to get into Q3, so no qualms there. Obviously, I think last season, if I remember correctly, I don't think we even made it into Q3, but it didn't matter in the end because Vettel got an engine penalty then. But this time round, Raikkonen looking good in Q2 at least, but we're through to Q3, so that doesn't matter. We're into the top 10 shootout, along with Daniel Ricciardo, who's looking very good indeed. I think that was him up into P3 in that second session, so let's see what he can do in the third session. But at the moment, going purple in the first sector, very clean first sector, I think you could say there, very tight on the lines through that S section. Probably the fastest sector I'll be doing, fastest sector around this lap. I think I lose more time in sector 2 and sector 3. We come across the line for what I felt like was a pretty decent lap time, actually, and by the end of the session, it's going to be P7, so pretty much a staple position we've been used to many, many times before in qualifying, just behind Nico Hülkenberg. But the shock surprise for me was the fact that Daniel Ricciardo really completely whooped my ass, really, in second place then, with Vettel on pole position, our main rival Raikkonen in 4th place then, so pretty decent that we're only 3 places back from Raikkonen, so that's pretty damn good. But to have Ricciardo beat me by so much in qualifying really kind of opened my eyes to this may be a tough Grand Prix, because if my teammate, you know, Ricciardo hasn't generally been that much faster than me this entire season, so if he's that much faster now around this circuit, I think I'm going to have a very tough time in this race, and really the goal is just going to be to try and get ahead of this man, and maybe like last season, just park the bus in front of him to try and keep him behind to keep our lead in the championship. But either way, let's go to the full grid, and then we'll see how things shake out, shall we?
Well then, after an exciting qualifying session yesterday, let's take a look at how the cars line up. Sebastian Vettel has a clear track ahead of him today. He starts in pole position, and P2 goes to Daniel Ricciardo, a strong showing from the Australian. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Raikkonen, Valtteri Bottas and Hülkenberg, a Red Bull, Ocon, Palmer and Felipe Massa, Perez, Magnussen, Romain Grosjean and Kvyat, Sainz, Alonso, Lance Stroll and Pascal Wehrlein. Van Dorn and Marcus Ericsson rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Right, so onto the starting grid for the USA Grand Prix and onto that strategy. So we didn't talk about it too much previously before the grid sequence then. Obviously, we qualified on the ultra soft tyres. We didn't opt for the alternative strategy because you can see the default actually technically should be on for a one-stop anyway, going to this set of soft tyres. And generally, I'll just have to see how the pace goes and really what Raikkonen does. As I said, if we can try and cover off Raikkonen, get ahead of him and basically just park the bus and finish ahead of him in this race, that will be the ideal thing, to be honest. I'm playing this, you know, like I did kind of last season, kind of like Alan Prost. I don't really need to do any more than I have to, so getting ahead of Raikkonen will be enough today. So we'll see what he does, and then we'll go from there. But as always, either way, we'll be fighting as hard as we can to start this race to see what we can do. And here we go. To 5 red lights for the USA Grand Prix here in Austin, Texas for round number 17 of Season 4. We're underway as lights go out, and from P7, it's a pretty mediocre start for us, actually, compared to the Force India of Esteban Ocon. Then on the left-hand side, Hulkenberg got a good one, but unable to make a move into turn 1. We're actually going to try and feed around the outside of him if we can. The same can be said for, looks like Daniel Ricciardo trying to go on the outside of Sebastian Vettel, trying to get the lead of this Grand Prix off Vettel from pole as we go around the outside of Nico Hulkenberg, going toe-to-toe in the S section. We give him the room on the right-hand side, you can see lifting off to give him the room, but we do get that, and we're up into P6. A very nice move in what is a very tricky place either way anyway, in a natural condition, let alone lap 1 of the Grand Prix to make a move there. But it looks like there you go, Daniel Ricciardo, my teammate, into the lead of this Grand Prix, and already getting a gap to Sebastian Vettel from Lewis Hamilton to Kimi Raikkonen and Valtteri Bottas. Meanwhile, we're having some issues though. Coming out the hairpin onto the main back straight, we have lost the position to Nico Hulkenberg, then having a bit of a major tank slapper really, and now we're in a Renault sandwich with Palmer right behind us, but we're going to get back in the slipstream and pull to the inside for the next corner. The same goes for Lewis Hamilton down the inside of Sebastian Vettel then as they go and try and battle for P2. Meanwhile, we're still trying to get this place off the Renault. You can see Hamilton and Vettel still going side by side in the stadium section, equally so myself and Hulkenberg, although a bit of contact's made then on the right-hander, and Hulkenberg gets ahead for now, but we dive it back down the inside, and we've gone for it, and this time we may do it. No, Hulkenberg keeps it to the inside, and much like Carlos Sainz in the real-life USA Grand Prix, we have to go round the outside and hang it there, and just have balls of steel, and we've made it work, and the Red Bull downforce kicks in, and Hulkenberg, you can see, has had to lift off quite a bit then, and let that position go in, so now we can get straight onto the back of Valtteri Bottas. Actually, looks like Bottas has been caught up with the fight between Raikkonen, Vettel and Hamilton, and so a bit of a domino effect has meant now we're right up his chuff, and we'll go to the right-hand side of him into turn 1 to the outside here. He's going to have a good chance to pinch us to the curbing on the right-hand side, but we're going to get the inside line then for the delicate right-hander before the S section, and we're up into P5 then, and now we can see our main rival Kimi Raikkonen right ahead of us now. So now the job is, can we try and chase him down and overtake him? We'll have to see, but meanwhile it's Ricciardo leading the way still from Sebastian Vettel. Hamilton now, after initially trying to overtake Vettel on lap 1, is now looking to defend from Kimi Raikkonen rather, and Vettel's kind of getting away and building that gap to P3, and meanwhile Hamilton now will have to maybe look in his mirrors as Raikkonen may go to the inside. Let's have a look. No, not quite, but meanwhile behind, you can see in the background there is Hulkenberg going down the inside of Valtteri Bottas. So looks like Hulkenberg fancies himself to try and overtake the Mercedes car. So once again, Bottas not quite performing amazingly. Really just one of the Mercedes cars. It's either Hamilton or Bottas either time in the pretty much this entire season in Season 4. Always one of the Mercedes cars has been woefully inconsistent, and you got to say for the last few rounds it's been Hamilton, but now looks like it may be Valtteri Bottas' turn. For now though, he does keep ahead of Hulkenberg, and Palmer close behind, so the two Renaults looking to maybe upset Bottas if they can. Meanwhile, we move back to our POV now onto lap 4. We're still chasing down Raikkonen, unable to really pull up to him too much, but now we may have opportunities. He's caught napping here down the inside, locking up on the left front, very large lockup indeed, and we just about control it to not slam to the back of Lewis Hamilton. That will mean now Raikkonen has sent it back down the inside. He's got P4 back, and unfortunately we can't make that move stick. That was quite an audacious and, you know, albeit huge dive bomb really. I was kind of taking my luck there, but I saw Raikkonen was going very slowly for some reason in the brake zone, so I thought I'd go for it, because obviously if we can get ahead of him, that'll be ideal, and then we can just kind of park the bus really, and we can go from there. But unfortunately for now, we stay behind, and looks like Hamilton comes in for a very early pit stop. Lap 4 is so early, so he's definitely doing a two-stop then this afternoon, it must be said, as we go across the line. And Sergio Perez behind us, setting the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. So very odd at the moment is Ricciardo now, you can see, stretching that advantage. So he is looking absolutely unstoppable at the moment. Daniel Ricciardo is my teammate, just showing that difference in pace he had in Q3. You can clearly see it wasn't just any kind of luck in qualifying. He does have that pace over me because I'm nowhere near him at the moment. We're still trying to chase down P3 if we can, which is now going to be maybe taken by Sebastian Vettel as Raikkonen tries to overtake Vettel for P2, then shoves his teammate off on the left-hand side, and Raikkonen is up into P2 then, and Vettel is down to P3. So that's not good for me, as Raikkonen now would get 18 points in P2, and obviously I'm in P4 with 12 points then. Obviously we need to factor in where Lewis Hamilton may come out in all of this. He's doing a two-stop. I'm not too sure what all of us are going to end up doing. For now, we're still committed to the one-stop there. You can see on the heads-up display on the right-hand side, but depending on how that pace of the Mercedes has, maybe, I don't know, maybe that's how they're going to get back into this Grand Prix. Maybe the Mercedes will come alive on the two-stop. We'll have to see, but we move on to lap 6 then, trying to chase down Sebastian Vettel. We get oh so close to his gearbox here, and in hindsight, maybe, I mean, I made a dive bomb from further back than that on Kimi Raikkonen, so maybe I should have gone for it, but I was a little bit hesitant as it didn't obviously work with Raikkonen, so I thought it may have probably not worked with Vettel as well. So we just continue on then through the laps onto the end of that lap, and as we cross the line then, Vettel's coming to the pit stop then, so he's coming early, so Vettel may also be trying the two-stop potentially, because I think the default is around lap 9 to about lap 11, but you can see locking up into turn 1, and generally my pace is starting to drop off on these ultra softs initially from what was a very good few opening laps, so I'm thinking about maybe coming in, and we are going to come in at the end of that lap 7, so we are going to cover off Vettel and do what he's doing and do a two-stop. I can't say the same for Raikkonen or what Ricciardo is going to do, but for me, my pace was dropping off way too much. I was losing nearly a second now on that last lap then to my previous lap time, then making mistakes and just not having the pace left on those ultra softs. So I'd rather come in right now a little bit earlier and try and see what we can do now on a set of super soft tyres. So probably going to the end now on 2 sets of super soft tyres then, and hoping and praying that we have the pace. But Vettel's passed then, he's on ultra soft, so Vettel going for 2 sets of ultra softs. Meanwhile, we come out just behind our former teammate Nico Hülkenberg there. A little bit of contacts made, and so he goes around the outside of us, and he's on a set of super softs as well. So it's crucial that we try and overtake him, as he's definitely going to be on the same strategy as us then, Nico is, because he was on the ultra softs obviously just like us, and now he's on the same set of tyres right now. So if we can try and get past him, that would be ideal. Meanwhile, Vettel is trying a very, very aggressive strategy with 2 sets of ultra softs, and for now looks like it's working for him because he's past the Toro Rosso. Meanwhile, we make a big old lunge on the inside of Hülkenberg. A little bit more contacts made on the inside there. Very slippery track conditions at the moment, and we're still sliding back with Hülkenberg there to the inside, but surely we can get this out, squeeze him out, open up the steering wheel a little bit on the exit, and we're up into P6 then. But I've got to admit, at this stage of the Grand Prix still, even on fresh super soft tyres, my car was feeling so bad. I don't know what it was. Like I said, from practice pretty much at the start of this racing weekend, this Red Bull car, for some reason, on the same setup as my Renault from last season, felt like an absolute dog to drive. Just a lack of grip. The rear end was sliding about everywhere. And it was just very hard to drive consistently, you know, try and bang in the same sort of lap times every single time. As now you can see up ahead as we overtake the Toro Rosso car, the 2 Ferrari cars have a very close dice into turn 1, as that was Raikkonen coming out the pit lane, and he's been overtaken by Sebastian. And let's look at a replay here, because that was very close as Vettel swoops around the outside, and Kimi actually cuts the corner somewhat. He's on soft tyres then, and Vettel managed to get through, so that's probably crucial for Sebastian's race, as he's on a 2-stop, and clearly you would say probably Raikkonen now looks to be on a 1-stop here, so we need to push hard to try and see if we can catch him now. Obviously we're making one more pit stop, so we have to get ahead of him, and we have to try and chase after Vettel if we can, and stick with Vettel, otherwise our strategy is not going to work out. And you've got to say now to lap 11, it's looking pretty good, because we do set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, so for now, things are looking on the up at the moment. We are catching Raikkonen. But as I said, it's going to be a question of if we can be consistent with those lap times and sliding through the exit of turn 1. That's going to be a big question for us to answer this race if we can make this work. But meanwhile, it's going to be Daniel Ricciardo at the moment in second place. And actually, the man in first is Sergio Perez. He's yet to make his pit stop. He's on super soft tyres, so he's definitely going for the 1-stop there. But he's gone for the even more conservative 1-stop. So for now, he leads the way from Ricciardo in second. But obviously, Ricciardo is still in a net first place and has pretty much looked untouchable this entire Grand Prix. But as we move on through the laps then, you can see I'm just about hanging back in the background. You can see two Red Bulls leading the way from either end of that panning shot down the main straight. But you can see the two Ferrari cars doing battle at the moment. Raikkonen trying to re-overtake Sebastian, and now looks like maybe Vettel's ultra-soft tyres are going off the cliff as now Raikkonen has forced his way past there. Little tap on the exit there, love tap there from Kimi to Sebastian, and he's up into what will be P2, and Vettel is back down to P3. But you can see Ricciardo still very comfortable. I'm just about hanging on, but my point is here, my pace isn't blistering, and now Vettel's been overtaken, so it's not looking good. The man who I was counting on to also make the two-stop work with me to finish ahead of Raikkonen is being overtaken now, so this is getting a little bit worrying that we may not actually finish ahead of Raikkonen, and so maybe it's just going to be a case of we have to try and basically do some damage limitation and see how high we can finish up in this Grand Prix as we now go through the final corner, lap 14 to on towards lap 15. Vettel comes in from his ultra soft tyre stint, probably onto a set of soft tyre to the end of this Grand Prix. Meanwhile though, Hulkenberg's going to try and overtake us. We go defensive to the inside to defend from Nico. He goes round the long way into turn 1, and he's actually just completely done me. I don't know how he found the grip around the outside there, but he's completely got me, and I've got nothing to answer for it. So into the S section, trying to stick as close as we can, but then I get hit with a wash of dirty air. You can see going opposite lock a little bit there, and unlike Raikkonen managing to carry the car through even with the dirty air, not punting it off into the gravel or the wall, but equally so getting affected by that. And you can see moving onto the back straight then, we are actually falling away from Hulkenberg already, and it's been less than half a lap then. So the Renault really flexing its muscle down that straight, probably with rich mix you would imagine, even though I've got rich mix and DRS then, Hulkenberg's able to pull away from us somewhat. And then as we move on later into that lap, we're going to box this lap and come in a little bit earlier, probably 2 laps earlier than I wanted to, but again, just like the first stint, I was just a little bit worried my pace was dropping off. I would rather try and get a good undercut and then try and park the bus later on in the race if I can. But yeah, at the moment now, from initially what was that fastest lap of the Grand Prix was really promising whilst we were chasing down Raikkonen, whilst he was behind Vettel. But then as soon as Raikkonen got past Vettel and we were getting to that phase, it just started to go a little bit backwards now from that fast lap of the Grand Prix. And just like I mentioned, you know, you can get the fast lap of the Grand Prix once, but it's about if you're consistent enough with your lap times. And in that second stint, that just wasn't the case. But as we come out of the pit lane, Daniel Ricciardo, the message has popped up, he is out of this Grand Prix. So Daniel Ricciardo was leading this race for those 16 laps. He was looking absolutely dominant, and now just like that in a split second he's out of this Grand Prix. Absolutely fantastic, because you know what that means? That means Kimi Raikkonen is probably going to be inheriting the lead of this Grand Prix. He was in second place on the 1 stop along with Ricciardo. The rest of us were all trying 3 stops, Vettel, myself, Hulkenberg, and now this is why Ricciardo looks like a pretty bog-standard mechanical failure, and that's really quite bad for us, really bad timing for us, and equally obviously just for Ricciardo's sake. He was looking so good. He deserved that victory there. No one was touching him, and now out this Grand Prix in a flash like that. So that's really unfortunate now. With 11 laps to go in this Grand Prix, 10 laps to cross the line for lap 18. We're up into P6 then. Hulkenberg coming out the pit lane now, and he's going to be ahead of us then. So some poor pace for us in general in that second stint, and Hulkenberg being pretty damn consistent, and he's ahead of us now for P5. So we're going to have to try and see if we can chase him down. But equally so, Hulkenberg himself is going to try and chase down, I think that's Sebastian Vettel just up ahead. But yeah, I think Kimi Raikkonen has pretty much inherited this lead, and that's pretty bad news for us, because that's 25 points for him. At the moment, if we're in P5, that's 10 points for us. So that's 15 points he's going to get back on us straight away after initially getting a whole 25 points on him last time at the Japanese Grand Prix. We did just set another fast lap of the Grand Prix, but again, it's a question of if we're going to be consistent. I just don't think we are, because now you can see it's going to be Hulkenberg trying to make the move around the outside of Sebastian Vettel, although he locks up, double lock up from Hulkenberg. So maybe, can we try and get Hulkenberg? We can see in the bottom right of that screen, we come up through that corner, but then meanwhile later in the race, Hulkenberg comes back at him, and he's got some great pace, and now I'm nowhere to be seen pretty much. You can just about maybe see me in the distance there, just coming through on the camera shot, but I'm losing hand or a fist now to Hulkenberg, who's really pushing hard. You can just about see me coming through the hairpin now, and Hulkenberg's the one absolutely on it like a car bonnet on the left-hand side of the circuit. DRS wide open, up ahead of Sebastian Vettel, and it's going to be now him chasing down, I think that's Sergio Perez then, in what is at the moment a really brilliant P2. So Perez has done amazingly to be in P2 in a Force India car, but now here comes Hulkenberg to maybe ruin that party for him. It'll be a pretty simple move, I would suggest, with DRS open, rich mix flying probably for the Renault, and it's going to be a simple move to either the left or the right of the straight to overtake him in a straight line. There he goes. Actually, Perez just just kind of kindly moves to the left-hand side to go a little bit defensive, and Hulkenberg's already passed up the order. And later on that same lap, Sebastian Vettel looking very punchy indeed, right up the chuff of Sergio Perez. Now, of course, Perez on the soft tyres and Vettel on super softs, much more fresh super softs indeed. Into the last corner, oh, Perez is locked up very badly indeed, and Vettel did very well actually to kind of go to the left-hand side, to the inside then, and avoid Perez actually. Otherwise, that could have been some classic Sebastian Vettel bad luck in this career mode, and would have been maybe a front wing off or some cascade element damage there. So Vettel up the order and gifted that position from Sergio Perez. And then for us, it's been a pretty damn mediocre race, I'm going to be honest. It's been a pretty boring one actually for us in this second stint. Nothing really happened. We go to the end of the Grand Prix in P5. Palmer tried to overtake us, but honestly, after that pass up the Grand Prix, that second one, again, you know, just very inconsistent lap times, sliding everywhere on the rear end, and I just basically parked the engine in lean mix, tried to save the engine, because I'm thinking a little bit more long-term now for the last few rounds, as I said last time out as well. But there you go, Kimi Raikkonen gifted this race win, and there's no other way to put it, gifted, because Ricciardo would have definitely won this. He was unstoppable. So that's, you know, I guess, you know, for those of you that thought I got very, very lucky, and I did get very, very lucky last race, there you go, a bit of luck for Raikkonen then to get back on the top step of the podium with what should have been Ricciardo there instead in first place. So straight away, that swung it right back into Raikkonen, Raikkonen's ball. I guess Raikkonen's court. The ball swung right back into that court. There's only 4 points in it, so yeah, again, it's heated up. So some of you guys thought the championship was going to be dead after last episode. Well, but as I said, the Ferrari car is still very much probably the fastest car overall. Of course, in the hands of Ricciardo, the Red Bull looked pretty damn good this afternoon, but you know, it's still not over. This fight's still not over, and we've got some very tough Grand Prix ahead of us. Mexico is a very, very tough one for me against the AI. Brazil has also been a tough one in the past as well, depending on how the race strategy goes with the tyre wear, and if there's some rain involved in Brazil, and I'm pretty poor through the first few turns there. So we've got still a very big fight on our hands with Raikkonen. It's not over yet by any stretch of the imagination. But guys, if you have enjoyed that episode, smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. And if you don't do that, do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been Aarava. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.